what's going on, guys? Welcome to Yoga Philosophy Club. Today we want to speak on a subject that's actually very sensitive and delicate. It's the subject of suicide and why it does not work. So, when someone tries to commit suicide, they're trying to achieve a certain result, and that's cessation of suffering, right? So we're going to explain according to not our own mental speculation or hypothesis, but according to ancient yoga wisdom, why this does not work. In other words, why committing suicide does not bring about the cessation of suffering, and it actually makes things worse, okay? So in order to understand why it's not going to work, we need to understand a couple things about who we are. So we'll go into depth probably on these subjects in the future, but we're just gonna skim over them now. The first one is that I am not my physical body. This body that I have is just that, a body that I have. I am possessing a body, just like I may have a house or I may possess a car, right? It's something that I am using. So the body is something that the self has in her possession temporarily. This body is material, but I am not material. I am spiritual. My essence is spirit, not matter. In other words, who's the I? The I is the perceiver, the one who's using it, right? Just like I perceive, right now I perceive a camera and someone standing behind a camera, right? With my eyes. It's not my eyes that are perceiving that. It's me using my eyes to perceive that. You understand? The I is not, the eyes, there's two meanings of the word I here. So the eyes are not the seer. The I, okay, I'm going to try to use a different word here. The eyes are not the seer. The self is the seer, right? Or the ears don't hear. The self uses the ears to hear. There's a dead body laying on the ground. There's nobody hearing or seeing. There's eyes and ears there, but there's no possibility of any hearing or seeing going on because there's nobody to hear or see with, right? So that's the first thing to understand, is that the self is using the body but is not the body, okay? The second thing really to understand in this connection is that the mind isn't me either. The mind is part of what's called the subtle body, and it's different than the gross physical body. You know, the eyes and the ears and stuff are there in the gross physical body, that which you can see. But we also have a subtle material body. It's made up of subtle matter. Just like you have different kinds of matter, right? You have different material elements like earth or water, which are more kind of gross elements, and you have more subtle elements like air or ether, right? That you can't even see, but you know it's there. And then you have an even more subtle material element, mana, or the mind. So that which we that's where memory is, and that we use, our desires are there in the mind, right? So this is the seating place of this stuff, right? So we're really covered by two bodies. There's us, the eternal spirit soul, covered by the subtle material body, and the mind is there in the subtle material body, and then we have a gross physical body, okay? So that's the situation of the living being in this world. Now, when people go to commit suicide, they don't do it because of physical pain. It's very rare that you find someone committing suicide because they have a backache or because they have a knee problems or something. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's very rare, right? I've never heard of it. Generally, when people commit suicide, it's because of deep depression or loneliness or sadness and like that, right? Feeling unsatisfied with their life in this world in one way or another, right? So they just want out. They want to cease suffering, and so they figure, if I don't exist, then I won't suffer. Right? So they, thinking that they are the physical body, they shoot the physical body thinking it's just going to be black, no existence, no nothing. But our existence isn't based on the body. It's just like your existence isn't based on your car. You can get out of your car, right? And you'll continue to exist. You can get out of this vehicle too, this physical body, and you'll continue to exist, right? So not only that, but you're only killing if you in other words take a gun and shoot your head. You're only killing your physical body. You're not killing your mind. You can't shoot your mind. It's too subtle of an energy. Just like you're not going to do any damage to air if you shoot air, right? You're going to do even less damage to your mind because it's such a subtle energy. It's not going to be affected by the bullet. So you're stuck with the mind, So, the pain and the suffering that's going on in the mind, thinking, oh, I lost this job or this opportunity or this girl that I was in love with, or I didn't get the girl that I wanted, or whatever the immediate source of the pain is. It's not there in the physical body. It's there in the mind, and it's continue to be there in the mind after you shoot the body. But you've just made things a whole lot worse, because now you don't have a physical body that you need in order to carry out all kinds of other desires that are in the mind, right? The physical body is a tool that you can use in order to try to fulfill your different desires. So now when you kill your body, you're left with all these desires that are still in your mind, but no body to continue out to fulfill those desires, plus all the previous problems that you've already had in your mind with the loneliness and the depression and everything are still there, and they're still going to be bothering you. And now the volume of that is going to be turned way up because you have no distraction. You're just left there stuck simply only in the world of the mind, right? At least when we have this physical body, we can get away from our mind a little bit by doing some activities in this world, going to play some sports or whatever, and doing some uplifting activities, and then we can get away from our mental suffering, right? We've all experienced this, right? But you can't even do that because you have no physical body now. You're a ghost, actually. That's what it is. A ghost is a living being, a spirit soul covered by a mental body with no covered by a subtle body with no gross physical body. So being in a ghostly state is actually a very suffering condition for the reasons I've mentioned. Also, you've ruined your actual chance of finding an actual solution to your suffering. In other words, we're not saying here that you shouldn't commit suicide because you're going to miss out on all these worth living for activities like graduation or getting a job or having a family and watching the kids grow up and growing old. We're not coming at it from this angle. We accept that, because when someone commits suicide, really they're not sold by those arguments. They've already thought about that. That they've looked in the future and they're not impressed. They don't see a reason for living. They don't see that as worthwhile, right? And we're not arguing here. We understand that this world is actually a place of suffering. We're not trying to paint it as some wonderful thing and you should not commit suicide because you're going to miss out on all this stuff. That's not the angle we're coming from. We're simply saying you're going to be in a worse state if you commit suicide. You're going to be in a worse position. You're going to be suffering more. It's not the solution. Okay? Now, when you have a physical body, you can use it to achieve an actual solution to the problem of suffering. And that's finding out, inquiring, who am I? What is the purpose of my life? approaching a spiritual master, yoga master, and inquiring from him these questions. And he can tell you, he can speak to you and give you guidance, and you can apply certain processes in your life that will bring about an inner satisfaction, an inner happiness and joy. Okay? And then suicide will be the last thing from your mind. So that's the solution to actual suffering. Self-realization, knowledge of the self, and acting on that knowledge. Anyone could take up these, learn these things, and then take on these practices. Okay? So there is an actual solution, and our main point that we hope we drove home here is that suicide is not going to work. It's not the answer. It's not going to work to cease your suffering. It's not a solution. Okay? Thank you very much. I hope this was informative. And please, if you have any questions or comments, please write it in the comment section. Please like this video. Please share it. Please subscribe. And we want to try to get these videos out as much as possible to as many people as possible. Okay, so thank you very much, and hope to see you again soon.